Hello, everybody. My name is Martha Alter Hines with Living the One Light. All right. Yet again, I'm very excited to make this video for you. Um, in this video, I'm going to talk about the solar eclipse coming on March 29th. It's a new moon at 9 degrees of Aries on the north node of the moon, and it is going to be conjunct the Kuiper belt being Salacia. And I'm going to talk about, I'm going to bring in actually I'm going to weave in some new things, but that build on some of the themes that we've been really dropping into together over the last weeks, months. I'm really excited about this. So what I'm really feeling called to bring in is the wisdom of the oceans and the light codes of oceans. So just to sum that up really, really fast. Um, yeah, I'm super excited and so many things I want to share and talk about and then we'll see. I think probably something's going to want to channel regarding that as well. But okay. So I'm going to start with the astrology, then I will show you where this is in the sky, and then I'm going to bring in some things about oceans that is just like so beautiful and amazing and alive. Um, because this weekend um, I went with it was my daughter's birthday, and I went with her took her to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which if you've ever been there, it's, beautiful and amazing. It's in Monterey, California. And I, I was enjoying it just simply because I was there with my daughter, but also because so many things came alive for me while I was there, and I need to share this with you, especially given the themes of this eclipse. Okay, so I'm excited. Can you tell? So let me first show you the astrology, then I will show you the astronomy, then we'll talk about ocean magic, which is so cool. Um, all right. So first of all, here is the chart of the eclipse. I have a lot of stuff on here, ignore most of it. Um, but okay, so the actual eclipse is on March 29th, 2025, 3:58 a.m. Pacific time. And the new moon, the solar eclipse means that it's a new moon and on either the north or the south node of the moon, in this case, near the north node of the moon, and the new moon itself is at 9 degrees 0 minutes of Aries. Okay, that point in the zodiac is especially alive because we just had Venus go retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries on March 1st or 2nd, depending on where you are in the world. And then we also just had Mercury go retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries on March 14th, which was the day after the lunar eclipse, and Mercury was the ruler of the lunar eclipse because Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. Um, and now the new moon for the solar eclipse is also at that same exact point. Okay, and what we have also going on in that part of the sky is Salacia, the dwarf planet, the Kuiper belt being Salacia, which I'm going to talk a lot more about in a minute. So that comes really alive. And then opposite the new moon is Makemake, another Kuiper belt being at 10 degrees of Libra. Um, and I I've said this before, I feel really hesitant to say a lot about the Kuiper belt beings who are named after indigenous traditions, without really deeply listening to people of those cultures. And also without, I feel like there needs to be a whole process, which I hope to be, to support over the coming 2 or 3 years, for us collectively to deeply listen to these beings and also to deeply listen to people of the traditions where these beings' names come from. So I feel hesitant to sum up anything about Makemake really. I would just say that one thing that does come alive for me with Makemake is a connection to and this is true for a lot of the Kuiper Belt beings, but a reminder for us to be grounded in the wisdom of Gaia, and a reminder that, how crucial it is that we stay grounded in what is true to life, what is honoring of life. So there's a lot more there. You could do a deep dive into Makemake if you want. Pam Gregory talks about Makemake in her solar eclipse video. And yeah, so there's more that I could say, but I just, again, I hold that part is definitely there for me. And other than that, I try to hold it really lightly at this point because, again, I feel like in general, we really need to have a collective co-presencing and co-remembering process with all of these Kuiper Belt beings. Um, so more to come on that in the coming years, I would say, but that's definitely there. And then Salacia also is a Kuiper Belt being, but it's I feel a little more okay feeling into her for various reasons. I have more of a direct personal connection, I would say, probably with her energy. And yeah, and so in a minute, I'm going to talk more about her. So she's conjunct the new moon. Makemake is opposite the new moon. And and at the time of this eclipse, Mercury is going retrograde at 0 degrees of Aries, just about. Later that day, that same day, Mercury will then re-enter Pisces and will be conjunct Neptune at 29 degrees 59 minutes of Pisces, okay? And the next day, March 30th, Neptune enters Aries for the first time in whatever it is, 185 years. Long, 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 long time. um, so it's a really big shift of energy with Neptune entering Aries for the first time in its cycle. At the same time, hours after, the day after, we have this new moon in Aries. And we have Mercury going retrograde, basically passing the baton from Aries to Pisces as Neptune then enters Aries. And we have Venus going retrograde from Aries into Pisces and having just been conjunct Neptune within hours of this eclipse as well. And she also is sort of passing the baton with this Aries back into Pisces energy, and she's right there on the north node of the moon. I mean, it's a really potent set of energies that are so powerfully connecting these Aries and Pisces, the Aries Pisces dance. And with regard to that, I would say if you have not signed up for the Becoming Superconductors of Love free summit, please do, because in that summit, which Kaylin Castell and I have been holding this month and are still holding this month, we have 11 free talks that are basically all about all of these themes. And I would highlight especially the conversation I had with Melanie Reinhart in that summit. I love, 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 love what Melanie and I kind of come to in the end of that conversation where, it just clicked for me how important it is that we remember the continuity of the relationship between Pisces and Aries, that it's not that we're leaving Pisces and going into Aries. It's the way I feel it best is that we're holding space for the reality that Pisces and Aries are a dance and they're a continuity, and that we're in a continual holding space of the all that is Pisces and the new. They're not separate from each other. That's part of that illusion of separation in the time of forgetting is, assuming that we go in a linear fashion from beginning to end. But that's not how life actually works. So yeah, to drop more into that, I would say definitely go listen to that conversation with Melanie if you haven't yet. Of course, she's Melanie, so it's amazing. And then there's so many other talks in that free summit that dive into all of these themes so much more. And yeah, and then the other really important thing about the astrology of this chart is so it's a new moon in Aries, which means that the wisdom keeper, or the ruler of the wisdom keeper, is Mars, and Mars is here going now direct. It was going retrograde, for a long time, and now it's going back direct. And it is at the time of this new moon, almost to the minute. I mean, it's within the same degree, squaring Chiron. And it is heading toward its third of 3 oppositions to Pluto. So it's going to have its third opposition to Pluto at the end of April. But basically, what I feel in this whole Mars dance, and because Mars is the ruler of the new moon at the time of this eclipse, and then the ruler of Neptune as it enters Aries, it's like there's a quality here that really is emphasizing power and the true nature of power. And I can't quite, like, I think there's something that's meant to come alive, when I channel, and also just in each of us, each of our own knowing, there's a magic, the magic quality that's needing to come alive here in these whole set of energies that I don't want to try to encapsulate in some cognitive analysis. But what I do feel very alive here is that there's something really important as we're moving through this time about shifting our relationship to what power is and coming into a deeper embodiment of the truth of what power really is, letting go of past, the lunar eclipse and a lot of these energies recently, including the initial 2 Mars Pluto oppositions, are so powerfully about letting go of notions of power that no longer serve. And actually, in the talk I have with Heather Ensworth in the summit, which is coming out tonight, I'm recording this on Tuesday, March 18th, and I'm going to be putting out the summit talk with Heather later today. So again, sign up for the summit if you haven't yet, because this conversation with Heather is just amazing. It's one of my favorite conversations I think I've ever had, where she talks about both the very powerful transformative energies going on with regard to the divine masculine in this time, and also the divine feminine. And we talk about how given given the current Venus cycle, where Venus is in her cycle going into the underworld right now, and given the current Mars cycle, and also these Mars Pluto oppositions, both Mars and Venus are in this moment in a very transformational time, both of them at the same time. And really, the Mars transformation, in a sense, is sandwiching and holding space for the Venus transformation. So, yeah, there's so much in Heather's conversation in the summit. And I highly, 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 highly recommend that. So again, if you haven't signed up for the summit, please do. It's totally free, and the link is here. And and that, yeah, the Mars journey with Pluto and its square to Chiron at the time of this eclipse there's something there. There's something just really potent and alive about coming into a magical, fully embodied sense of the truth of power. Not to shy away from power, not to pretend that we don't have power, because power is what life is, right? And yet we're scared of it, maybe because, of course, it gets misused, and it has gotten misused for a very, very, very long time. And yeah, but there's a truth to power, and there's a magic to it. So yes, okay. So that is part of what we're going to feel into when we look at the next components here. Okay. And now I'm going to show you, the next thing I want to show you is where in the sky this eclipse is going to be. I mean, the new moon, um, because that starts to bring in some cool stuff, some other layers, very important. All right, so just briefly, here, oh, no, that is, okay, so I'm going to take you to March. This is stellarium.org, and you can go to this on your own anytime. Super, super cool to see where things are in the sky, the actual sky. And so I went to March 29th, and 2025, and I'm gonna type in moon, and here it shows us where the moon and the sun are at the time of this new moon. And what I want to show you is, here they are. I've talked a lot about this in previous videos, that this part of the sky where Pegasus is very, very, very alive right now. And in the summit also, Chris Skidmore and I did a whole video about this part of the sky and what this brings alive, some components from his perspective and my perspective of what comes alive here. And as we mentioned in that video, also, if you have not signed up yet, Chris and I are holding a free event this Sunday, March 23rd, or Monday, depending if you're in Australia, etc. Some parts of the world, it's Monday, March 23rd. March 24th. And for those of us in this part of the world, it's March 23rd, 4 p.m. Pacific. Yeah, we're going to have a really beautiful, amazing free event that day. So we're going to go back to the beginning of time, and really, I'm going to channel, and we're going to feel into literally the beginning of existence, and then the beginning of myth, and the beginning of story. And we're going to weave in some really beautiful things into that. So join us for that if you haven't already. And it'll be recorded, so you can just enjoy the recording if you can't be there live. Okay, but here is where the sun and the moon are in the seasonal sign of Aries, but under the constellation of the fish or Pisces, and under the constellation of Pegasus. And then I want to show you where Salacia is. So you can see on an astrology chart, Salacia was conjunct the new moon, but actually in terms of our vision of where Salacia would be if we could see Salacia, which we cannot because it's very, very, very far away. It's in the Kuiper Belt. It would actually be in the constellation of Pegasus. Okay, so Pegasus becomes very alive at the time of this new moon. And again, go to the video with Chris to hear, a whole set of angles there. But one thing I want to talk about with Pegasus is there's a whole family basically that's coming alive at the time of this new moon. So we have Neptune entering Aries the day after the new moon, the solar eclipse. Neptune's wife is Salacia. So we have Neptune entering Aries the day after this eclipse. We have the new moon itself of the eclipse conjunct Salacia, who is the wife of Neptune. And we have Salacia sitting, and the new moon, so Salacia sitting in the constellation of Pegasus, the new moon itself sitting under the constellation of Pegasus. I'll show you where Neptune is. It's right here. So also under the constellation of Pegasus. And Pegasus is the child of Neptune and Medusa. Okay, so we have, the father, the wife, the child, and then I'm going to bring in one more component real quick to just give a little more sense of this family who's so alive at this time. So these are some slides that I use with my Astrology 101 course. And so those of you in that course have just seen these slides because this month we have been with Pisces and Jupiter and Neptune. And so in my astrology course, one thing I do is I bring in the science of the planets and the moons of the planets. And so I'm just going to show you really briefly, yeah, what happens when we bring in, in particular, the biggest moon of Neptune. That's like brings in so much, so much more that I feel like gets forgotten by most of astrology, and so that's part of why I bring in the moons when I focus on planets. And I'm going to be doing that more and more and more over time. And I'm actually working on a book on the moons of the planets because it is so exciting and important to me. Okay, so let me bring up these slides so you can see them a little better. All right, so Neptune. Yeah, I'm not gonna go through all of these slides. This, what's in the astrology course, but just give you the gist. So the main thing I want to talk about with regard to Neptune and the quality of Neptune is it has a total of 16 moons, but most of its moons are little and they orbit in a regular motion around Neptune. But then there is this other moon, Triton, which is the biggest of the moons of Neptune, has a completely different orbit from the other moons. Okay, so here's Neptune. Here are the main moons, or I should say most of the moons of Neptune orbiting in this counterclockwise motion around Neptune and relatively close into Neptune. And, I guess you could qualify them as saying they're more typical of what we would expect of moons of a planet. And then we have Triton, and Triton is much, 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 much bigger than these other inner moons. And Triton is going in the opposite direction around Neptune from the main moons. And its orbit is extremely long and tilted to the plane of orbit of the main moons. Okay, so it's, in other words, Triton is a completely different animal from the main moons of Neptune. And then this gets even more interesting because this is something we go into more in the astrology course, and I'll maybe make other videos about this down the line. But Triton, bottom line, is very, very similar to Pluto. So it is actually larger than Pluto, and it is thought to originate from the Kuiper Belt itself, just like Salacia, where Salacia is and where Pluto is. And it looks a lot like Pluto. It's made of the very similar substance to Pluto. And yeah, so it's thought to basically be almost, you could consider it like a sibling to Pluto or a cousin to Pluto, but it's orbiting Neptune. And what's also really interesting is that the orbits of Neptune and Pluto have a fascinating relationship with each other, which again is a whole topic, which maybe I'll make a video on sometime down the line. We talk about this more in the astrology course, but the orbit of Pluto crosses inside the orbit of Neptune for 20 years out of Pluto's 48-year orbit. So we think of Pluto as being farther away from the sun than Neptune, which is true most of the time, but not all of the time. So Pluto actually is closer in towards the sun than the orbit of Neptune for 20 years of its orbit. So there's this, and then Neptune itself has the largest moon of Neptune being Triton, is like another Pluto, which is orbiting Neptune. So clearly Pluto and Neptune have a very, very, very important relationship with each other. And that's something I feel like in astrology we really have not sat with enough. There's so much more that's wanting to come alive about that, I think through all of us collectively. And there's something really key about the relationship of Neptune with the Kuiper belt because again, Neptune clearly has this very strong relationship with Pluto on many, many levels. And then Pluto was, originally considered a planet, then was quote unquote demoted to be a Kuiper belt being or object. And now Pluto is now considered the first discovered Kuiper belt object. But uh but there's something about Neptune itself maybe being like a cross bridge between Neptune and Pluto. There's so much more there that I feel like is really important to feel into. And then when you bring in even the mythology associated with Triton, that just gets so interesting. So again, just to briefly talk about this, Triton in mythology is the son of Poseidon or Neptune and Salacia. Okay, so it's very, very interesting. And Triton is half human, half merman, and is known to call through a conch shell, and he is considered the messenger god of the sea. So in a sense, I almost think of Triton as sort of like a oceanic version of Hermes or Mercury. Um, like he's some kind of, maybe he serves as some kind of yeah, go-between, or there's some way in which Triton, the moon, maybe is helping us to bridge the worlds of Neptune and Pluto and the Kuiper belt. There's something there. There's just so much more there. And then Neptune itself and Salacia, and therefore Triton, those astronomical beings, the planet Neptune with its moon Triton, and then also the Kuiper belt being Salacia, which are the father, the mother, and the child, are in the constellation of Pegasus, which is another child of Neptune, not with Salacia, but still. So Triton and Pegasus are half brothers. And they are all in the same part of the sky right now during this really transformational time, which is absolutely fascinating. Let me just double check if there was anything else in those slides that I wanted to oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay. So I'm going to come back to these slides in a second because, and in a minute I'm going to channel because this is beyond my brain comprehending anything, but there's something important here. I can just feel it. So this new moon, again, is in Aries with the north node in the end degrees of Pisces. And the day after the new moon in Aries, Neptune is entering Aries for the first time in 185 years. Plus, we have Mercury still at 0 degrees of Aries at the time of the new moon itself, but later that day, re-entering Pisces, coming to meet with Neptune just as it is about to enter Aries. But they're meeting at 29 degrees 59 minutes of Pisces, like literally the very, 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 very last minute of the entire zodiac. Okay. And Venus has just gone retrograde from being conjunct Salacia in Aries, has re-entered Pisces, now is at 28 degrees of Pisces, right with Neptune and right with the north node of the moon in Pisces. So this whole part of the zodiac of this Pisces-Aries dance is unbelievably highlighted, right? But it's all with that overlaid by the constellation of Pegasus. And so there's this question of when we are going from the all that is of Pisces and we're starting the new, quote unquote, in Aries, What does that mean? How do we do that? How do we hold space for the new? We all want this new earth. We are all here because we're all called in our own ways to be part of creating this, the new, right? The remembering. But how do we do that? How are we held to do that? What is our unique gift in doing that? It's a very Aries question. Um, and how can we do that in a way that bridges the continuity of Pisces and Aries? So as we're starting the new, we're coming from the all that is. We're not just trying to be individualistic and pioneer from our individual selves into the unknown. That's sort of more of an out of balance kind of Aries energy. We are still fully in the foreverness of Pisces as we then are the spark of Aries. They're not separate, they're together. Again, I talk a lot about that with Melanie in the video I did with Melanie for the summit. And we're there in the magic of Pegasus, the magic of Salacia, even the magic of Neptune entering Aries. So, and the common denominator here you can hear is, okay, Neptune, Salacia, Neptune, the god of the oceans. Salacia, the wife of Neptune, who is a mermaid, more than that, but she's, very much associated with the ocean. The child of Neptune and Salacia is Triton, who is the biggest moon of Neptune and is the messenger god of the seas. And then Pegasus, who is also a child of Neptune. And one of the things I love, just an image of Pegasus that I love, is that when he hits his hoofs on the rock, it springs forward water, like magical healing water. So there's this, of course, this running theme of oceans, of magic, of the crystalline aliveness of water and earth as one. That's something I associate with Salacia very strongly. And just the connection between ocean and light, and ocean and magic, and ocean and crystalline existence. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in one more component. This is like so many things. So like I said, this weekend, I went to the Monterey Bay Aquarium in Monterey, California. And if you haven't been there, it's amazing and great, and I highly recommend it. But I'm going to show you a couple things that really stood out to me. So these, you can go to the Monterey Bay Aquarium website, actually, and they have a ton of free resources on there. They have a live cam where you can see a lot of what I'm about to show you. And yeah, highly recommend checking out their resources because it's so cool to explore, and you don't have to go to Monterey, California to do it. You can do it from anywhere in the world. I'll put the link to their website with this video. So, but here is some really awesome stuff. Okay. All right. So there's so many amazing things at that aquarium, but here are a couple things that I was sitting there going, wait, what? Wait a minute, what? So here's one example. They have one of their exhibits is called literally it's called Living Light. Okay, my entire directive from the spirit world is called what? Living the One Light. So of course this caught my attention, right? But here is the point of Living Light, their exhibit. So what they say is, light is a language in the sea's dark depths. Most animals here create their own glow. This light, called bioluminescence, is produced by a chemical reaction within each animal. Their dazzling displays confuse predators, lure prey, or attract mates. Step inside and enjoy a show with video of real bioluminescent midwater animals. Okay, and then here is a video from, yeah, this is from in their bioluminescence living light display. Just enjoy this for a moment. And again, you can find you can find so much about all of this on their website for free. So I highly recommend checking that out if you want. Okay. Yeah, you get the idea, right? That inside the ocean, I mean, what does that immediately remind me of? Stars. Obviously, stars, right? The um the parallels between deep ocean and cosmos were just jumping out at me all over the place at these exhibits. So they have one of the things they have there that I loved was a deep ocean exhibit. And this living light exhibit was, I think, part of that, part of the aquarium. But yeah, there's so much in the world of the ocean that is parallel to the world of the cosmos. And I think there's so much unknown about the oceans that is just coming alive, right? And is so magical. And so I'm going to show you one other thing. I think I'll probably make a video about just this whole phenomenon, because it is a whole topic, but I just wanted to give you a gist of this. So this is something I just was riveted by. This is a moon jelly, and I highly recommend looking up more information about moon jellies. Okay, but this is what one of the people at this aquarium told me about moon jellies. So this is the life cycle of a moon jelly. So this is a jellyfish called a moon jelly. And this is the full adult moon jelly here. And then the adult moon jelly, you know, produces these larvae, which turn into these tiny, tiny, teeny, tiny little beings. And these little teeny tiny beings, this is the larvae are stage one, basically, of the life cycle of the moon jelly. Stage two is this, and then stage three is this. So what the person was telling me is that these little guys form these slightly larger flower shaped creatures that then attach themselves to the floor of the ocean, or attach themselves somewhere, right? And this is really, really, really cool, and something I want to find out more about. And then again, maybe I'll do a whole video just on this being of the ocean, because I think it has so much to teach us. So what she said, this is so fascinating. The moon jelly at stage 2 and stage 3 of its life cycle has the ability to, if the conditions are not quite right for this moon jelly to go from stage 3 to stage 4, like if the temperature is too hot or too cold or whatever it is, the moon jelly will revert back and forth between stage 2 and stage 3, possibly for years, until the the conditions are just right for it to survive going to stage 4. So just that, I mean, just that, I was sitting there going, wait, what? That is amazing, and obviously speaks so much to divine timing, to the sacred slow, just the divine intelligence of the timing of us becoming the next stage of who we are, right? There's just so much metaphoric in this whole thing. It's like, wow, wow, wow. Okay, and then the moon jelly goes from this stage 3 into this formation of these beautiful flower-like manifestations of itself, and then comes up to stage 5, and then when the timing is right, these flower beings turn into the full moon jelly. Okay. I mean, just exquisite. And another thing I find really interesting is that full adult stage of the moon jelly, that formation of the jellyfish is called the medusa. So, um, that's a whole other road we could go down, but, so Pegasus is the child of Neptune and Medusa. And, yeah. Anyway, there is a lot to dive into with all of this. Um, but another thing that the person who was talking to me about the moon jellies, she was talking about the fact that they have light receptors. So, um, and I asked her, again, I want to learn more about that because I'm just going, wow, 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 wow. Of course, ocean beings, like literal, actual ocean plants and animals, of course, have this incredible relationship to light, and just like animals and plants of the land do. Um, but so these inner ocean beings create their own light, like that, through that bioluminescence. But then in addition, they have light receptors, so that they're in this dance and this relationship with the sun. But I would bet also, for sure, they're in a dance and a relationship with starlight. So there's something, this is Martha me. I'm going to channel for a minute in a second to see what wants to come through here. But Martha me, when I feel into this whole part of the sky, all the things I just talked about with the connection of Neptune entering Aries under the constellation of Pegasus, Neptune's wife Salacia being in the constellation of Pegasus conjunct the new moon, on and on, all the things I've just said. There's something really beautiful and potent and available. What I'm feeling is there's something about an opportunity for us to deeply reconnect, not only with ourselves as the land of Gaia, but also the oceans of Gaia. Because, of course, Gaia isn't just land, she's the whole totality of who she is. And then something, when I've channeled ocean beings before, like dolphins and whales, one thing that comes alive is the role that the oceans themselves play physiologically. So there are the ocean is this humongous component of the body of Gaia, and I think we kind of forget about the ocean. But physiologically, it's playing a role. The sense I get is like the oceans themselves are like, what do I call it? Not exactly antenna. They physiologically help with the communication, like a sonar system, kind of. They help with the physical communication of Gaia and starlight, and just the cosmic dance, the cosmic song going on. Because of course, as we know, if you've gone in underwater in an ocean or in a swimming pool or whatever it is, how the quality of sound and vibration is so, so, so specific and unique and different within water. So there's a really important role that the oceans themselves and the beings of the oceans themselves are playing in this time. Uh, yeah, I think there's a whole world with that is needing to open up, and there's just much more to come. Um, okay, so now let me channel, because that was a lot of information. And let's see what wants to be here through them. Cool. Thank you for being here as always. And again, if you haven't signed up for the free summit, please do that. If you haven't signed up for my free event with Chris, please do that. Um, yeah, we're going to go back to the beginning of time with Chris. And I think this whole connection of ocean and the cosmos and our soul and our spirit and myth and story, it's all very relevant to all of it. So relevant to all of this too. So yeah. Okay. Okay. Hello and welcome. So I am here today speaking as a vibrational quality of light itself, of bioluminescence itself, and of really, in a sense, light codes themselves, and the light codes of you, the light codes of existence. And what we're really wanting to convey and hold space for here is an opportunity, something that you can be dropping into anytime, but especially at the time of this solar eclipse, and especially leading up to the eclipse itself, and then at the time of the new moon itself. So what we really would love and would really encourage you to do is to drop into this time of the solar eclipse to be the light codes embodied as Gaia, as Earth, as you, literally. So the time of this new moon, the solar eclipse, is a time of new beginnings. It's a new moon. It's a new moon on the north node of the moon. It's in the sign of Aries, but it also bridges the energy of Pisces because the north node of the moon is in Pisces. And as Martha has already said, there's this incredible dance happening between Pisces and Aries. So, in a sense, you could say the energetic of this new moon solar eclipse is like an opportunity for a great beginning, a spark of light, literally igniting as the light codes, the magic, the shimmering, magical quality being that is you as the divine, as source itself, as the earth, as Gaia herself. And this, all of what Martha has just been showing you of the bioluminescence of beings within the oceans of earth, and even the qualities associated with Salacia, as she is associated with the shimmering on the sea and the salt of the salt water of the oceans, the crystalline life forms of existence of earth and light as one, the embodiment of light. It's, in a sense, really a reminder, a reflection to you of the energetic of you as the crystalline light forms that you are, and the crystalline light grid that all of existence is, and the literal light codes that you are. So, Martha, recently did a video entirely just channeling on what light codes are, and we highly recommend going back and listening to that if you haven't already, or going back and listening again if you feel called to. But we really encourage you at the time of this new moon solar eclipse to let Gaia, to let the light itself, and all these creatures, these beings of light and Gaia as one, in a sense, with you, to hold the space for within you this bioluminescence to reignite as who you are. Your being knows what it is to be light and earth as one. Your cells know what it is to be light and earth as one. Your atoms and even subatomic particles know what it is like to be light and earth as one. That is literally what you are. And the energetic of the powerful total lunar eclipse on the south node of the moon in Virgo, that energetic was and still is supporting you to radically let go, radically release anything and everything from all eons of existence, all eons in the time and space continuum, all karmic patterns that do not serve anymore, just to radically let them go, to radically forgive, and to move on. And now, as we enter the time of great remembering with the Kali Yuga ending just before the time of this new moon solar eclipse, we are now in the time of great remembering. And the great remembering, first and foremost, most powerfully happens as the intelligence of light itself, and the intelligence of light and Gaia, Earth, as one. And to come back into what it is to be light language itself, to be the homo luminous ones. That does not mean to only be light. It means to be light and earth, Gaia, as one. You are light itself when you are not embodied, but you are here to be embodied as earth and light as one. And the entire Wholeness Way series that Martha has on her YouTube channel entirely for free, that is like an extended month-long journey, again, just as a gift, entirely for free for you, of learning to embody that wholeness of yourself as Gaia and light as one. So we highly recommend, encourage you to enjoy that entire series if that calls to you. But at the time of this new moon solar eclipse, we would love for you to be present with this reality, to continue to radically let go those energies that are supported to be releasing and letting go from the energy of the total lunar eclipse that happened on March 13th, 14th. And then to be getting held to come into that spark of light that is you. That spark of light that is you as cosmos, as earth, as divine, as light itself, all as one. And this is also part of why Martha is being guided in this coming year to hold the series, The Stars Speak. Because this light that is you, as cosmos and Gaia as one, is speaking as you, as the light codes of stars, the light codes of earth, the light codes of these oceanic, magical, bioluminescent creatures and beings, and also speaking as the totality of the oneness of it all. And there's so much more to remember, to explore, to be within that. But we come almost to just a place of silence with it because it's largely beyond, so far beyond words. The light of stars, the light of the bioluminescent beings of the oceans, the light is light. The light is one. The light is the light of the divine. The light is that original spark of light that began at the beginning of time. And again, that's actually also what Martha and Chris will be holding space for a remembering of in the free event Martha was mentioning, that at the very beginning of the big breath, as Jude Currivan calls it, there was the Om of sound of creation, the original Om. And then, according to what scientists now understand, after the first Om, the first sound of existence, then there was light. And in that free event on March 23rd with Martha and Chris, they'll be holding space for a, a great remembering in you in your own way of that original spark, that original moment of the big breath and the big Om, and then light. And the light became life, and the light became stars and galaxies and planets and stories and love and you. And in this time of great remembering, essentially, it's really all mainly about coming back to this remembering of what it is to be the original spark of light, the original spark of the great Om, the original spark of creation itself as you, and the language of light, the language of the original Om, the language of the original song, and the original totality of the wholeness that always is you, and that is moving now as you, as light, as Gaia, as cosmos, as stars, as bioluminescence, as the magic, as the beauty, as the love, the pure, infinite, forever love of creation that is literally who you are. This is what is being held to come alive at the time of this solar eclipse, the new moon with Salacia in the stars of Pegasus. And so much more. And so it is. Amen. All right. Okay. I guess that sums it up. Sums it up for me. That was pretty cool. Yeah. So much more came alive for me in terms of the free event with Chris and what I think is meant to come through and come alive in us in that gathering as well. So again, if you haven't signed up for the free summit that's ongoing right now, we're having a free equinox ceremony tomorrow, March 19th. It's going to be live, but also recorded. So even if you're missing it live, absolutely, you'll still have access to the recording. We're going to have a closing ceremony, which is also going to be live and recorded on March 30th. That's the day after the solar eclipse and the day that Neptune enters Aries. That's going to be really, really powerful. And please, be there if you feel called. And then definitely, definitely, definitely come to this free live and recorded event with me and Chris on March 23rd, this Sunday/Monday, depending on what part of the world you're in. Um, yeah, I can feel the potency, like, wow, 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 wow. Yeah, so much meant to come alive in that gathering and in each of us. And something so key about going back before the beginning of time to feel creation begin. Um, and I had not put together in myself yet the connection between doing that and then the energies of this solar eclipse. And suddenly, just now in that channeling, I got it. There is such a connection. Yeah. So that free event with Chris, basically what I'm feeling like is it also sets us up energetically for then being with the energy of the solar eclipse. So it all ties together. Like, amazing. And if you do feel called to be part of the year-long course that I'm holding, where Chris is gonna be a monthly guest speaker. I'm gonna be holding about 3/4 of it myself. Chris will be there once a month to do a deep dive into the mythology of stars. I'm gonna be doing the science of stars. Sorry, this course is called The Stars Speak. It's gonna be amazing. I'm so excited about it. I'm gonna talk about the science of the life cycle of stars to begin with, and then we're gonna be with the parts of the sky that are visible in the evening throughout the year. And we're gonna be with the science of those stars, the mythology of those constellations. But most importantly, I'm gonna channel for us each to come into deep personal relationship with those stars. In particular, I've highlighted 13 stars that we're going to be with, one per month, um, that we're going to have, particular focus on. And in addition to the constellations that we will explore throughout the year. And then we're also going to have four other amazing, amazing, amazing guest speakers who will be live with us and recorded. And those speakers are Heather Ensworth, Kaylin Castell, Divine Harmony, and Julia Balaz. So amazing people, right? If that calls to you, I have sliding scale options available. I have an 18-month payment plan if you want that. I could also do a 13-month payment plan. And yes, please join us. That's starting April 1st. Great. Okay. Thank you so, so, so much for listening. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do. And I'll see you soon.